information. We will pass that along on air and online. All right, now let's get to our other top 6 headlines at 6.
This is breaking within the last hour. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying lawmakers have reached a bipartisan deal to avoid a government shutdown. The deal will temporarily fund the Department of Homeland Security while lawmakers debate larger reforms to ICE.
Hours of debate at the state capitol today on a bill which would effectively ban hormone therapy and puberty blockers for anyone under 19. A full breakdown of the arguments coming up.
A Minnesota man is in custody charged with trying to break Luigi Mangione out of jail by impersonating an FBI agent. Law enforcement say the man arrived at the detention center in New York claiming to be a federal agent with a court order to release Mangione, who is accused of shooting and killing the CEO of United Healthcare.
Growing concern in the metro tonight after Lancaster County reported its first case of the measles since 1990. Health officials expect cases will pop up in Douglas County, adding that the best thing we can do to stay safe, make sure you're up to date on your measles vaccine.
Security video shows the moment a truck crashes into an ambulance in Council Bluffs. This was while they were on the way to help someone in need. None of the first responders inside were hurt, and there were no patients inside the ambulance at the time.
A hearing on a bill in the Nebraska legislature would outlaw all marriages involving those under 18. Currently, you can get married at 17 in Nebraska with parents' permission. LB 984 would require both people getting married to be at least 18. Okay, be sure to keep that winner